Good morning, my name is Lisa White, and it is Sunday, and Monday, and welcome to Monday Morning Short. Today I'm going to talk a little bit about some techniques and skills and benefits around stress management. So if we were to look at the different categories, I don't know if you guys remember my last video that I had, we talked about the symptoms of stress. So within the symptoms box, when it comes to stress, there's 4 or 5 different categories that you could sort of put those stressors in. So there's the physical reactions to stress, there's the mental or the cognitive reactions to stress, emotional, behavioral, and spiritual. So what I'm going to do is I'll give you a few examples of each one of those areas so you have an understanding of what they mean, and then I'll talk to you a little bit about some of the skills and techniques that you can use, and then sort of what some of the benefits of that might look like. So when we're reacting to stress and we're looking at the symptoms of the stressors, the physical components are things like headaches, dizziness, nausea, chest pain, shaking, trembling, erratic breathing, agitation, weight fluctuations, fatigue, weakness, pins and needles, sometimes some chest pain, and panic attacks would be a few examples of what the physical symptoms of stress might look like for certain people. So some of the techniques that you can use to sort of help with those symptoms or reactions to stress would be things like practicing deep breathing exercises. Muscle relaxation exercises tend to help too. So when you're doing your deep breathing, you're 2 seconds in and 2 seconds out. When you're doing that, what you can also do is you can contract certain muscles and then release. And sometimes what that does is it allows you to feel that tension releasing from the body. So muscle relaxation can be really good for that. Aerobic exercise, strength exercise, flexibility, those types of things. Getting on a regular sleep pattern and making sure that your habits are forming when it comes to sleep hygiene and taking care of your sleep. I know it can be difficult for shift workers, but if you can work into a schedule on how you would look during your different shifts and making sure that you're eating healthy and getting the exercise in, that can help with the sleep. Smoking cessation and moderate caffeine and alcohol use. Jeanette talked to you about the low-risk drinking guidelines. She talked about the low-risk cannabis use guidelines. So if you can take a look at those and try to follow some of those guidelines, that can help as well. What that does, it can help improve your physical health and resistance to disease. As we know, like when we're practicing exercise, proper sleep, and diet, it can prevent disease. And increase sensitivity to natural physical cues. Okay, so it's becoming aware of your symptoms or your reactions to stress, and it all falls within that whole thinking skills model that I talked about 6 weeks ago, I can't remember now, how our thoughts can impact our physical sensations, which impact our emotions, which lead to our behavior. So having that awareness of those physical cues can help with that too as well. So having that self-awareness. So that's the first one. The second one is behavioral reactions to stress. I don't know about you, but I have those. I tend to look for my glasses when they're on my head, or look for my keys when they're in my hand, or bumping into things or things like that. Some of the reactions to stress can be increase in mistakes and accidents. So while you're driving, if you are ruminating and you're not paying attention to the road, you could have those fender benders. Change in sleep habits, so too much or not enough sleep. Increased mistakes and accidents, I already said that one. Change in sleep habits, increased use of caffeine, alcohol, cigarettes, drugs, cannabis. Forgetting, pacing, restlessness. I can always tell when my younger son is stressed because he's usually pacing around the house while he's talking to me, so I can see that there's something there for him. Nail biting, foot tapping, leg jiggling, that kind of stuff, so being jiggly like that. Overdoing activities or overscheduling yourself would be a common reaction, a behavioral reaction to stress. So what can you do about that? Building in some coping skills and some training. Getting some time management and some planning. So if you're somebody who is overscheduling yourself and not finding enough time for things, then you would definitely want to do some of that, for sure. Reading, meditation, for some people, it could be turning to some form of spirituality or prayer. Avoidance of procrastination. And that was I think that was my very first Monday morning short, it was on procrastination. So if you're somebody who's procrastinating, tune into that video. It might give you a few tips on what to do around procrastination. And be aware of perfectionism. So when people are overscheduling, overdoing things, sometimes they're putting a lot of time into things that they don't have to put time into, or too much time. What can you do? What would be some of the benefits of those skills and techniques? Enhance coping and skill development. So if you're training yourself and you're putting in new habits, if you're plotting, so you're pinpointing the issue, you're locating alternatives, you're training, you're testing and then training yourself, you will build in new habits. You want to say hi? Got a friend here this morning who likes to come up on here and say hi. Say hi to your friends. Hi. Okay, off you go. And increase flexibility and adaptability. So being able to be more flexible and being able to adapt to your situation and your surroundings a little bit better. So some of the mental ones. Let's take a look here. So some of the mental reactions to stress would be changes in self-image, loss of self-confidence, easily distracted, decrease in concentration, increase in forgetfulness. I'm already seeing some of my own here. Indecision, decrease in sense of humor, and that's usually a lot of my friends will tell me that if my gaffe factor is not there, or I lose my sense of humor, that could be an indication that I could be reacting to stress. Mind racing, drawing a blank, confusion, time urgency, negative self-talk, and irrational thinking. So when it comes to the mental, some skills and techniques that you can use when it comes to mental or cognitive reactions to stress is the ACT formula. And I've mentioned this in multiple videos before. What that stands for is acceptance, creating a vision and taking charge of that and putting it forward and propelling yourself forward. Some of the other techniques is having that decrease in self-producing thought. So that whole thought process, that whole thinking skills, how you think about a situation definitely impacts your emotions and how you behave. So having that decrease in those negative thoughts that you have of situations that you're in, especially when it comes to self-talk. Because as you know, in our if we're negative talking to ourselves, usually our perception of the outside world is usually negative as well. Tolerance for what we can't control. And this goes back to the personal power grid. You remember that last week when I talked about that? If you were here, we talked a little bit about fighting against something that you can't control would be things like hanging on, spinning your wheels, right? And wasting a lot of time and energy on something that you can't control. And then we had the quitting component there, or the giving up, where you either give up on the situation that you're in or you stop performing in the situation that you're in. And then sort of moving into that acceptance piece, which is part of the ACT formula, right? Accept, create a vision, take charge, okay? And getting into that acceptance quadrant, and then moving into mastering in your situation. So being able to accept the situation that you're in and then master in that situation as best you can. When you do that, the benefits would be improved mental health and enhanced resilience against future stressors. Again, it's part of that training that the training process for yourself. And improved sense of control and competence. So those are some of the benefits that you get from using some of these skills and techniques when it comes to the mental reactions to stress. The next one is emotional. Some of the emotional reactions to stress: anxiety, nervousness, irritability, impatience, anger, frustration, changes in self-confidence, your own self-concept, indecision. You can see how some of these overlap a little bit. Mind racing, drawing a blank, confusion, time urgency, muddled thinking, and again we have negative self-talk and the emotional piece again as well. So some of the techniques and skills you can use when it comes to the emotional reactions to stress would be habits of acknowledging feelings. So being able to tap into your feelings and acknowledge what they are and have those feelings, allow them to happen, but don't dwell on them. Don't let them hang on for too long, right? Especially if they're really negative. But you got to have that awareness of those feelings. You got to let them, you got to let yourself have them, and then you got to acknowledge them, and you got to take care of them if you have to. Establish a safe venue for expressing and understanding feelings. So whether you're talking to somebody that cares about you or somebody that you trust, whether it's writing things down or journaling things out, that sometimes can help. And avoid venting just to vent. I'm not saying that sometimes when you get things out there and you have a sounding board in front of you, that's healthy, you can do that, but just don't vent all the time. You ever get into those groups of people where that's all they do is they sit and they vent and they talk about negative things and it's all drama and all that. So don't get yourself wrapped up in that. Just try to avoid those types of situations if you can. If you need to vent out to a friend once in a while or someone that you trust, that's fine, but it isn't something that you want to continue to do all the time. That can have unhealthy consequences for your emotional well-being. So some of the benefits to being able to do that would be enhanced ability to choose actions to alleviate the duration and intensity of negative moods. And increased sense of emotional balance. Okay, and that's all about having those feelings and then having that balance of those emotions and being able to manage them. That's emotional resiliency, because when we talk about the definition of stress in terms of what we talk about in Stress Take Charge, it's that psychological and emotional resiliency, and that's part of your mental fitness too as well, right? Which would be sort of an example of what a definition for mental fitness would look like. When we look at stress management, it's that imbalance to be able to cope with certain situations when the coping is tipped. There's less coping and more stress. So stress is up here and the coping is down here. Okay, let's look at social now. Social reactions to stress. We got behavioral there. Oh, here we go. Social behaviors, so conflict and communication problems. A lot of times when people are under a lot of stress and strain, their tolerance for some of their personal or professional relationships can be compromised. It can be an increase in conflict at home and in the workplace. Aggressive tone of voice, body language. Social withdrawal, not wanting to spend time with friends. I think sometimes for other people too, like I know people socially withdraw, but I've known people to actually overextend themselves in the social department. If they're socializing more, maybe it's to get away from home or whatever it might be, and they're going out and avoiding the home life. So I sometimes feel like people can actually overdo that side of things too as well. And decrease in commitments at work and or at home. So those would be some examples of the social behavioral reactions to stress. So let's look at some skills here. So some skills would be taking some communication skills. So working on your communication skills and trying to be able to become more assertive. It's okay to be passive once in a while, and sometimes people do get aggressive, and there can be some pros and cons to those too. But if you're passive and or aggressive, most of the time those are automatic responses when it comes to communication, and a learned behavior as part of communication would be being able to be more assertive. So being able to bring up an issue or talk about something in a respectful way and feeling that you can raise up an issue, talk about how you're feeling about a situation without using thinking errors like blaming or black and white thinking or overgeneralizing things or minimizing something. So being able to avoid those types of thinking errors when you're trying to be more assertive. Conflict resolution, so learning how to manage conflict more effectively, and I think I talked about that in my Managing Angry Moments video clip. So if you didn't get a chance to see that, or my video clip on Intercom when I talked about the interest-based collaboration communication model, so there's some information on how to manage conflict in both of those two videos. And again, getting some of that assertiveness training. For some people who have those automatic responses, whether they're aggressive or they're passive, assertive training can be very helpful to bring about confidence in being able to do that. Relationship building and getting involved in community activities can be helpful because you're feeling that you're a part of something, right, and making a difference. What can that do for you if you try some of those techniques? Greater interpersonal effectiveness, more satisfying work and personal relationships, and greater intimacy in your personal relationships, so it can draw you and your partner closer together. And the last one is spiritual reactions related to stress. So changing in view of the future, nothing to look forward to. Remember, these are the reactions people tend to have sometimes. Feeling less hopeful. Meaning of life. Life is not as meaningful, and it could be or should be. Life is not as meaningful as it should or could have been. Okay. Crisis of trust and faith. So questioning what you believe in. So some spiritual techniques and skills as a reaction to stress. So some of the things you can practice is personal mission statement. So having your own personal mission statement and having a vision and following through with that, and having some consequences of following through with your vision. So if you've created a vision or a mission for yourself, what would be the consequences to you reaching that mission with your vision? Mission with vision. Participation in community of faith or spiritual organization. So whatever your beliefs are, your values and beliefs are, is falling back onto those values and beliefs and participating in some of those things in your community that would fit for you. Retreat and renewal of activities, because as you know, sometimes people, usually when we get under a lot of stress and strain, the first thing we tend to do is we let go of those activities that are the ones that help us feel better. So our hobbies, sports that we do, whether you're going out to paint night or any different type of activities that you like to do, just re-engage in those, because usually those are the first things to go, and those are like the first things you should be keeping and fitting into your schedule. Identification of values of life perspective, because as we grow older and as we go through experiences and as we go through our relationships, sometimes our values and our beliefs tend to shift or change or move into different directions, and that's okay. So being able to identify if some of those values have changed for you and revisiting those and taking a look at that. If you can do this, okay, some of the benefits from that is heightened sense of purpose. It does make you feel good when you can get involved in your community and re-engage in activities or re-engage in any type of spiritual guidance that you've turned to before in the past. It does help you feel a better sense of purpose. It also helps with your commitment to activities. So remember, some of the reactions is people lose their commitment to certain things. Well, this will help propel you into committing to some things a little bit better. Gives you some sense of peace of mind. Can help with ruminating, so ruminating thoughts. It can help prevent some of those ruminating thoughts that we tend to have sometimes. And enhance creativity, curiosity, and playfulness. So just a few techniques and skills that you can try when it comes to managing stressors. We've talked about a lot of these other things that I brought up before in other videos. So if you get a chance to sort of take a look at some of that, it might sort of tie it in all together. But this was only supposed to be 15 minutes and I've already been up to 20. So I'll cut it off for today. If you have any questions, who's here? Oh, hi Keegan, how's it going? Kanita, Jeanette, hi Lappy, nice to see you. Hope you're doing well. Thanks for tuning in. So this was a 50-minute short. Enjoy the rest of your day. It's a beautiful day outside. And up on Thursday is Jeanette Boudreau, and she will be in at 11. She will be talking to you about sports supplements. And then the week after that, on her Monday morning short, she will be talking to you about the keto diet. So tune in. It's nice to see you. Have a great day. And I will see you in a week on Thursday. And happy Canada Day. I won't see you till after Canada Day. So happy Canada Day, Canada. Have a good day. Bye.